Hello everybody, this is Mika. I go by the username Maho Point. This is the third part of my backlog journey, so I'm going to recap how I've gained my own power to complete games that I have collected yet not really touched until I started this whole, long and arduous journey. During the first year, I decided to start tackling my backlog, and I started using a method by utilizing the website howlongtobeat.com and sorting my game list by time to beat, going from the shortest game to the longest. Around the second year, I decided to switch things up when my list started to get into RPG territory. I used a randomizer to separate titles that required further time investment on my part, so I divided my time between action and RPG games. Year 3 is going to be pretty sparse, as now I've completed most of my backlog up until this point. I guess you could say what I was experiencing was a type of burnout this year, but I just found myself spending less and less time on games since I was starting to feel pretty fulfilled by my progress, and I've been editing and writing these videos over the past year mostly. Year 3's backlog strategy is pretty much the same as Year 2. I had continued to randomize my game list unless something came along that I really wanted to try. River City Girls. This game had some of the best writing I've seen for a beat 'em up. I love Kunio games like River City Ransom. The bosses are hilarious and the OST is all bangers. This is one of several spontaneous buys that I had done at the beginning of the third year. After all, it was on sale. Monster Hunter Rise. Monster Hunter is a very unforgiving game most of the time in terms of time investment, but the introduction of new transportation methods like wire bugs and the palamute and the ability to pretty much scale the map all the way helps a ton. I know this game has a ton of post-game and multiplayer content, but I mostly stuck to the main campaign. Otherwise, I never get anything done. Balan Wonderworld. Ah yes, the most controversial title that I completed this year, and one I was looking forward to working on during the first backlog video. You might have seen something at the beginning. I was pretty pumped. I feel like this game had a lot more untapped potential for speedrunning, utilizing the costumes in ways that could break the game, almost like a type of 3D Kid Chameleon. But it needed a lot of polish. The lack of real enemy placement or threats outside of boss battles was part of what made it kind of a downer. But there are things I like about this game that I wish made it shine more, especially the later stages. Dragon Quest III: The Seeds of Salvation. The approach this game took was pretty interesting. Going back to the world of the first game and realizing that Dragon Quest III was actually a prequel to Dragon Quest I and II, and it ends in a very weird way, where the legendary hero was isekai'd from the real world to Tentagal, was a really interesting choice I think few appreciate about this series. Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. You just can't say no to Puyo Puyo or Tetris, and the combination of them is just too addicting. The new HPMP system that they introduced, along with magic spells, was just very interesting and something that I found was very fun. Say No More, a very short and concise indie game that teaches the value in saying no to unreasonable demands. It's barely over an hour long, but it's worth it if you haven't picked it up yet. Just don't do what I did and tack 5 more games into your backlog unless you're prepared for the setback. The Legend of Zelda: Oracle of Seasons. I never got to play the Oracle series games back on the Game Boy, but thought the concept was cool. And the Seasons game was the one of the 2 that I wanted to try out most. It's a fairly easy game overall. Assassin's Creed 4: Black Flag. This game is a little bit clunkier than the Rebel port, but is also much slower. The ending felt a bit lackluster compared to its sequel too. I don't have much to say about this one that wasn't covered in my Rogue review. DigimonStory: CyberSleuth, Hacker's Memory. Just as with the original, I spent most of the time letting the game sit in sleep mode and leveling up my Digimon via the farm as if it were a V-Pet. Hacker's Memory further fleshed out the world established in the first game, and I had a deeper appreciation for the game filling in a lot of story beats from the first title. One Piece: Pirate Warriors 3. Another beat-em-up Muso title. They tend to be very button-mashy, but I really enjoy the amount of detail from the series that made it into this game. Blaster Master Zero 3. This is the final title in the Blaster Master Zero series so far, and it was worth playing through all 3 of the titles to get to this point. I enjoyed the reverse mechanic that made the player choose between either a hard level designed to kill you fast, or a much easier mutant level. Pokemon Shining Pearl. This game was very nostalgic, but despite that, I get the feeling that it lacked a lot of quality of life options seen in previous Pokemon titles. Gunvolt Chronicles: Luminous Avenger Eeks 2. I actually have a lot to say about this one. Another title in the Gunvolt series? Sign me up. This game got rid of the old multi-bullet system for coping and only gives you simply 1 bullet. You also don't seem to get access to Stellar Spark, instead getting a few guilt weapons from the previous game like a saw shot and close range attack. The game also gives you more or less an unlimited auto healing function, letting the player choose to not heal at all and go for a high score if they want to. It has a bunch of interesting design choices that make the game feel more streamlined. Pokemon Legends Arceus. This was the Pokemon game that I had been waiting for, and many others. I didn't hesitate to turn on tilt controls either. I found myself capturing up to 20 Pokemon at a time and shirking most of the story advancement for a while. It was definitely the most fun I've had playing a Pokemon game. I just find it odd that most of the quality of life features that should have been in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl were concentrated into this title. That may get fixed by the time Home comes out. This game is my current addiction as I try to finish some of the other games I started before purchasing this one. How do I start talking about this year? A lot of these titles have endless modes that can suck up a player's time. Perfecting gears, or perfecting scores, or going for a high win rate in a battle, and things like Battle Tower. or leveling up in our River City Girls, or stuff like that. And yet, while I tried to avoid them more or less with some mingling success, I still felt burnt out this year. With around 20 some odd titles left, with gems buried here and there that I hadn't considered due to my fogginess, I can't help but want to talk about Burnout. Burnout, even when playing games, is very real, especially as an adult. Stories and UI or gameplay tend to blend into each other when you're playing so many similar games so close to each other. You start to understanding what reviewers actually go through when they are assigned a game that they don't like, rather than playing one that they do like. You can tell that I have much more to say about a platformer like Luminous Avenger X2 than I do about Assassin's Creed. And while that may be unusual, it makes sense when you realize platformers are more or less my favorite genre. I also did a lot of replaying old games, or games that I had played but just didn't count for whatever reason. This also sucks up a whole bunch of time that sort of stops you from playing anything new. My advice is, if you feel burnt out, just go back and either play what you like or enjoy your day doing something else other than gaming. Allow yourself to walk away and then come back with a fresh set of eyes. I have shifted a lot myself with what I was doing, what with editing all these videos, doing the artwork for the thumbnails, and working on live 2D avatars for fun in the meantime, and just kind of hopping around YouTube here and there. I found myself also struggling to say anything really mature about these titles in terms of writing themes, like I did last time. I hadn't found any notable juxtapositions. There was nothing really subtle like that this year. Thank you for watching this video. I don't do these very often, and this kind of year was sort of lackluster in my opinion, although the games are really good, so I'm not actually really complaining. So there you have it, year 3, Burnout year. Thanks everybody for liking my videos, for watching them, even if you don't watch them all the way. It makes me happy to see people are enjoying this content. Hopefully I'll be able to do something more serious or creative in the future. Bye.